think I'm just waiting for a couple people to come in before I get started. Hi, Deanna. Hello, hello. I'll get started in about 1 minute. I'll let a couple people join before I get started. You can always come back and watch it later on the Comfy Art. Come on in. Hello. Thank you. I did it just for you. And excuse any in the background noise you hear. I do have children that are finishing their school day. Not right now. See? All right, I'll give it another minute or so. And then I'll get started. I guess I should pull up the slide. Boom. Hey, well, that's fun. All right, so I'm going to get started. So my name is Lauren Jackson Harris. I am a local independent curator, arts advocate, arts administrator. I do a lot of project management. I've worked in galleries, museums, nonprofit organizations, and for-profit organizations in the arts and cultural sector. The reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because it's a lot of questions that I get behind. Where do I start? What do I do? And for my few years of working in gallery space, I thought I'd just share just a few gems that helped some of our clients get on track, and just little tips that I've earned through books and that I've read. So we'll get started a little bit about me. I'm also the founder of Black Women Visual Art. Make sure you follow us. We are an organization that centers around the Black female arts worker, women. It is completely inclusive, and we want to promise and work with and support Black women arts workers in the arts and culture sector to promote education and professional development. So follow us and stay tuned for more of our programming. I'm also the program coordinator at the AUCR Collective, which is housed at the Atlanta University Center that comprises of Morehouse, Spelman, and Clark Atlanta University. And it is a program that offers the art history major and minor in the Curator Studies minor, and it is funded by the Alice Walton Foundation. So follow them for any interest that you have in terms of lectures with curators and researchers and facilitators in the arts and culture sector. So I'll get started on that note. And our next slide, these beautiful slides by Deanna. And so the first thing is just simply knowing what you want. What do you want? Do you want color? Do you want black and white? Do you want photography? And it's really just understanding what kind of collector you want to be. So, not everybody has the $1 million budget where they can go and find that Basquiat or that Picasso or the Kerry James Marshall, but you can start in your own neighborhood. Collectors can be me on my art budget. It could be the CEO at Home Depot. So collector is your title that you make for yourself, and there is no one person, one style, and you don't have to be an expert in order to be a collector. Why people collect? People collect because they like art. They're intentional about supporting the arts. And another reason why they collect is because for investment purposes. That's another way people also invest in the arts. Again, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be wealthy to start. It's just your why and wanting to have art in your home. Some people's why is to build, obviously, a wealth in their home, in their space, and really just to give back. A lot of our collectors, especially in the Black arts community, buy art to obviously feed the Black arts community, because if you don't buy art, we have to stop creating, and there's no one to curate the Black art. There's no one to help start the Black arts economy in any city if you don't invest in it first. So one of the other ways is that there is a reason why. Another reason why is also decoration and hobby. I personally do it because I love it, and I'm just instinctual about what I like and the aesthetic that I want to see around me. Sometimes it's because I'm like, I really like this artist and they finally had a print sale and I can buy it. And sometimes it's, I have a friend that's an artist and I do them a favor and they give me a piece of art. That's just the position that I'm in. But you can start off just by simply going into your community and being intentional about what you do in the art world. So when I talked about reviewing the artist, that starts there. It starts there first. What types of media are you looking to? As I mentioned before, there's photography, there's print, there's original print, there's paintings of all different types of medium that include acrylic, oil, watercolor, gouache, and so many others. So it's just a matter of understanding what you're looking at, knowing what type of print it is. Is it a lino cut? Is it a wood cut? And going into understanding if it's an assemblage, mixed media, metal, copper. There's all different type of ways there's all different types of medium that artists use to create their work. Is it a sculpture? Is it a painting? Is it a photograph? You can start there. So understanding the types of media that you could have in the various sizes is very important before you go and purchase your artwork. Because, I must admit, I don't have a lot of walls, but my walls are covered because I purchase stuff that I love. Whether it's a poster or this original piece of art, I purchase what I love. And they're all in different various media, from small little sculptures to posters from IKEA that were one-off limited edition art sales, or I have, some prints and posters from Instagram artists that I love. So it's really just about understanding what type of medium it is so that you know how to care for it, and so you know how it looks in your home or in your space. Another big thing to understanding the different type of media is the process. One of the classes that the gallery I used to work at did was called art tastings, and they actually had an artist come in and talk about their process behind making the art, and that was very helpful to people to anybody would. And so it's just a matter of really understanding the artist process, the type of media that they use. And there's also the grade of media. Some artists, maybe use, paint from a lower grade student-based paint, but it's also understanding if this paint is something that is archival. Will it survive over the course of years? If it's on the right paper, will it bleed through over time? Will the marker, if they didn't use a fixative, will the marker disappear when I hang it in the light? It's understanding your investment is the biggest part of really starting. And where to find it? Everywhere. Art is everywhere, especially in the city of Atlanta. We have a vast arts community, from emerging to professional working artists, and there's just has to be full intention on your part as a consumer to find it. There's newsletters you can join. There's organizations here in Atlanta that promote, local organizations, local artists, and gallery spaces and art spaces that promote and sell the work of our community. And it's just starting there, being intentional about knowing where you are in your city and what is available. Where to find art, such as galleries, where to look at art, museums. There's art spaces. And that's a really good way to support the budding Black artist, or the budding artist in general. Where else can you find art? So stores, I don't, recommend going to Target or going to, the Z Gallery and spending, a plethora of money on this art that is reproduced. I would take that money, that $80 to $500 that you would spend in one of those, chain stores, and really invest in original works by emerging artists. And if you don't know where to go for an emerging artist, find a local arts worker in your area and ask them. Just simply DM. I have people DM me all the time. Where can I find this type of art? I see this artist is from Atlanta. Do you know this person? Can you put me in contact with them? Sometimes it's just shooting in somebody's DMs and just asking the question about where can I get this? Where can I see more of this? And if you are timid about reaching out to artists that are of higher notability, it's just DMing them and emailing them. They might have a representation. Speak to their gallery and get to know the artist a little bit first also before you follow, so that you're familiar with their work and what they offer to you. let's see the next slide. So purchasing art is a question that I get a lot about, when people ask me, how do I start? I have in this new house. I want to put art in my home. I want to move some stuff around. I need some art. I want to start buying art for my new house or just my space in my office. Sometimes I have impulse buys where I'm like, I want to get that now, and I put it on credit, but I have a credit card for that specifically. So if in the interim where I'm like, I don't have the cash flow, I have my credit card ready, available to purchase work that I love that is under a certain budget. And I have my stopping number. And it's just about creating a number that is safe for you, that you can pay back, because you don't want to be in debt buying art, but it essentially should be an investment for you. A big way to kind of get the best insight into pricing is building relationships. Building relationships with the local galleries, local artists, supporting them. Maybe if you buy, a smaller piece and you continue to buy smaller works, they produce a big one and might give you a discount. A lot of artists will, when they have collectors that are repeated buyers, they work with them and they give them inside scoops into their upcoming works before they release it. Or visit your local gallery and art spaces and get familiar with the people that work there. Get on their newsletter, become a supporter of that art space. A lot of these art spaces have memberships where they offer, discounts for purchasing artwork and art pieces by local artists or any artists that they have in their space. So building relationships is important for this in general, just to know what's going on in your city. Another thing is about money management. I am not the biggest financial guru at all. I am a true creator, and my brain does not function with numbers. But what I can say is that I know my limit. I know what I can handle, and I know what I can pay back. There was one client that I worked with who had just bought a home, and over time she wanted to continue to purchase artwork, but she thought she could fill her whole house with artwork all at one time. With the stuff that she was liking, it wasn't possible in her budget. So she became very intentional over the course of some years to use her bonus check as a way to basically to supplement that cash flow. She had this extra money. Well, not extra, because it's still a bonus, still money that could be used for something else. But she had this extra money. She said this money every year will be used to purchase art. And after about 1 or 2 years of you doing that, she became comfortable with being even more intentional about adding to that pot. So she saved more money aside, and she was taking more risk in buying art throughout the year and not just waiting for that pot. Because sometimes she would come to a show and miss out on a piece of art that she liked because she was waiting for this bonus check. So what she did was she said, I know I'm going to get this bonus check. If I see something, this is my max budget. If I see something within these months before this bonus check at the end of the year, this is what I can spend. And so she had I think she went from buying 1 nice piece to 3 pieces to 5. And I was happy to sell those to her because I got a nice commission. So it's a way for you to think about what works for you. Some people do have credit cards that they buy intentionally just for art. And some people do use it for relationships. Some people barter their art. They say, hey, I'll consult with you on this project, or I'll help you do this one task. And they say, if you do that, I'll give me a piece of art, and we'll barter that. So there's different ways that you can understand your role in the art world as a consumer, as a collector. The biggest thing I advise any collector to do when you love an artist's work, is to support that artist. We want artists to be full-time artists. That's the only way they can produce really great work and continue to do so, buy the supplies that they need to produce that work. So the first thing that you need to do is, maybe if there's an artist that you enjoy, support them, visit their studio. A lot of artists will open their studio up to you. I would not pop up, but I would definitely email them or ask them, DM them. If you know them, text them. If you know somebody that knows them, reach out to that person. But definitely you want to connect with an artist that you love and support their work before they get to the level that you can't reach, because there's several artists that I have worked with in the last 2 years that have already gone to a price level that I can no longer afford. Even though I know them and I can DM them and ask them questions, I can't buy their art anymore. And part of me is just like, I should have done that. So support the artists that you love and that you are that you want to be familiar with. A few key factors in thinking about pricing is the quality of the art, the subject, the size, and the date. If you're at a gallery and there is a print-based show, it's an original print-based show, some of the work might be from, older artists who are no longer living, and that price is based on the notoriety of the artist, as well as the date and the quality and the size. Sometimes artists, even living artists, will base their prices off of the size. It might be a smaller piece. The standard smaller piece is under, $200. There might be another piece that's medium size that's $500, and another piece might be $1,000. So you really need to think about size as well. If you want a large piece, I've had somebody say, I want to fill this wall up with one large piece. I was like, okay, well, would you want to make the investment into paying that $2,000 or $3,000? If the artist that's a lot of paint for that size wall, you need to be willing to make the investment. So that is a really big factor in understanding what you're paying for. And price levels always don't determine the value of the artist's work. There are several artists that I've advised with or spoke to that will just price their work. I had one artist just price his work at $75,000, and it was his only painting that he had available to sell. And I asked him, why is it $75,000? Because he worked so hard on it, which I don't negate. But pricing your work based on labor and love, and sometimes not business, will also fault the artist for losing out on collectors. So collectors, be very wary of the trajectory of the artist that you work with. If you haven't seen him or her, or they go through a process of selling their work at this cost repeatedly, just be really wary about buying art at a certain price without vetting the artist's price history and their exhibition history. That is very important to understand. So the issue with buying what you love is really just understanding, one, what your budget is, what you can afford. And if you fall in love with something, like I think there was one artist that used to be an intern with me at the gallery, and she was selling, 11 by 12. She was selling 7.5 by 11 prints. And I bought a few of them just because I'm a fan of her work. But then there's an artist that I follow on Instagram who sells her work for tens of thousands. And I purchased her work I purchased a poster that she did, a release poster, a limited edition poster for $200. And that was something that I could afford. So I took that risk in doing so. So buying what you love is important because when it's in your home, you want to care for it. Make sure you get it properly framed. That is a big factor in making sure, like sometimes these IKEA frames, the glass is on them. It's not the proper glass for certain artwork, certain original media when it comes to paints and watercolor. Watercolor will fade under certain glass that isn't UV protected. And think about oils. Some paintings can't touch glass. Sometimes you want to get them to where they're a shadow box frame so the painting doesn't touch the glass because they have texture in it. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're purchasing work and when you're buying what you love and caring for it and making sure it lasts in your collection as long as possible. And I just want to share with you some of the gems that I dropped are from one of my art Bibles. This is by Halima Taha. This is called Collecting African American Art. This book was written in 1998. And when I tell you, I have marked up this book and read it so many different times. She talks about notable Black artists based on their pricing. She teaches you about the different styles of media that you need to know before purchasing work. She talks to you about pricing out, speaking with, networking artists. She teaches you a little history around Black art. So if that is your interest, this is the book to get. It's called Collecting African American Art by Halima Taha. You can find it on Amazon. This is a quintessential item in understanding what you need to get when you want to buy art that you love. I hope that you learned something today. I apologize for the background noise with my kids, but if you ever want to have any questions, if you have any questions after this, feel free to DM me at laurenjacksonharris.com, L. Jackson Harris on Instagram. I'm sorry, my website is not up yet. Don't follow that. Or you can shoot me a DM on Black on Visual Art. If you have any projects you'd like to collab on, any support that you'd like to give us, we are a growing organization that is creating some program that will come out hopefully this fall. And also follow the AUCR Collective with any educational and professional development opportunities for any students that maybe see this. So thank you for having me, Deanna. Thank you for having me, Comfy Art.